I had a fun experience. It was last fall, right, at BYU. I was doing a signing or something. Anyway, Peggy came through, who was one of my former students, and I do my normal thing where I'm like, oh, how's your writing going, former student? She said, actually, it's going really well. I have an agent, and you have a sale, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that's always nice to hear. So she joined the group of, the small group who have gone on to actually publish professionally from the class. And so I invited her in to speak to you guys about how she went about doing it and how her experience differed from mine, because as I've said, my experience getting published is now almost a decade old, and yours happened last year?
November, right?
November, right then. So you can get kind of a quick view of how it goes for someone in today's market. So I'm actually going to just let Peggy, cool, just taking over right now and going at it.
Okay.
Let's turn on the lights for you up here at the front.
Okay. My name is Peggy Edelman. I first came to this class 3 years ago.
Where is that? There it is. Those are not very intuitive. Did I leave something off? I wonder which one that was.
I think that was like the second one you did.
Second one, right.
There we go.
Okay.
All right. So I first came to run this class 3 years ago, and I was just auditing the class. And I was so glad to come to this class because I knew that that was the step that I needed to take to become published. It's not the only step, obviously, but I knew that that was what was going to get me up to the next platform. So I was so grateful to be able to come to this class because really, how long have you guys been in this class? Just a few weeks, right?
Yeah.
A month
Yeah.
or so?
Yeah, about a month and a half, I guess.
Because most authors, even really good ones, cannot tell you how they do it. They've just taken all that knowledge and then they go. But the amazing thing about Brandon is because he can tell you exactly, breaking everything down to tell you. And I learned so much. I would say I've learned more than Brandon and I have from everybody else combined as far as writing goes.
Checks in the mail, Peggy. Thank you.
What?
Checks in the mail. Thank you.
Okay, and then he divided us up into writing groups. And that went really well for us because we got to try out the people in our writing group and see who we worked well with and see who we didn't. There were 3 of us in my writing group that we found work really well together. And so we decided to get together as a group afterwards along with the TA in the class. Rob, who's hiding outside, right? Is that Rob out there? Yeah. I'm not here. He was a TA. So anyway, we got along well, so we decided to get together as a writing group. And we're still meeting every week 3 years later and still submitting a chapter a week, just like we did when we were in Brandon's class. And this is a great chance for you guys to get to know people in your group and see how well you work together, because if you don't have a writing group, your chances, I've heard this once, it's something like 10% to get published. And if you stay with a writing group, it goes up to something crazy like 90%. So get with a writing group and stay with it, because not only will they keep you motivated, but they can keep you on track too. So anyway, our group's been meeting very nicely, and then after I finished the book that I was writing when I started this class, by the time I got to the end of it, the end was so much better written than the beginning, because I learned so much during the course of that book that it was a little daunting to even deal with it. So I just put it away, went on to the next idea, finished that, but really is where it made a big difference was in revisions. And I know that revisions are a pain, but there's so many things you have to focus on when you're doing a book, like making your characters likable, working on character arcs, the plot arcs, all of the subplots, everything. There's so many things you have to keep in your mind. I don't think there's anyone that can keep all of those in their mind the first time through. So every time you go through a revision, it's going to get better and better and more layered, and the more layered it gets, the more real the world is going to be. So I just kept on going through and figuring out more things, and everything I read and everything I heard, I would do it in the context of my own book and figure out what I needed to change. And it's gone through 12 revisions now, and it feels really good. So then I was ready to go to the next step. My queries are another huge thing, because some agents think they can tell everything from a query, and they probably can't. And so,
No, they can't.
Huh?
No, they can't.
Not everything, but
Yeah.
they can tell a lot about your writing style, how much of a rambler you are, or how much you can get to a concise point, how good you are with language, a lot that they can. And some of them think they can tell everything, so they will not even look at anything else if they can't get past your query. So a lot of agents, though, If they don't say on their website, only send me the query, you can still paste 5 pages below your query into the body of your email. Never do it as an attachment. Unless they say not to, you can. And so it's a really helpful way for them to get a look at your writing itself, because queries are hard. They're really, really hard. But they're also worth the time to spend getting them right. Last May, I went to Storymakers, and conferences are a really, really good way to go. Anyway, at Storymakers, I got a pitch session with Sarah Crow. And I wasn't going to even do a pitch session because I'm really not good at pitching. And I thought I'd much better just writing it and sending it to her than I am fumbling in a pitch. But then someone talked me into it, so I got on the waiting list and got into her.
Sarah Crow is Dan Wells' agent, as well as several of their local authors' agent.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember who else she has, but
It's
I know
Rob's too, right?
it's
Rob
Rob's,
Wells,
yeah, Rob.
And Bruce Eschler, Marion Jensen.
Okay,
Jonathan Mayberry, but he's not local.
right.
Anyway, she's a really good agent, but I had learned how to pitch in a conference, and they say get it down to like a 2-sentence or even 3-sentence pitch, and to go in there, give your pitch, and then they'll ask you questions. So that's exactly what I did. I went in and sat down with her, said my pitch, and she's like, oh, that sounds really good. And then there was this really long, awkward silence. And then she said, why don't you send me your full? And so then I said, okay.
What
And
was
then
your
we both
pitch? Will
sat
you give
there
us the pitch?
being,
Do you have the
oh my
pitch?
gosh,
Remember?
do you remember? I don't remember that one.
Okay.
It's a post-apocalyptic adventure about a 12-year-old girl, Hope, who with her town lives in one of the burnt-out craters left behind by one of the massive green bombs that destroyed most of the Earth's population. Bandits come and invade. She has to save the town with her friends. Anyway, so it was really awkward, and it was over in about a minute and a half. And then I'm like, all right, see you then, and left. Okay. When you sign up for a pitch session, you bought 10 minutes with that agent, and you can spend them however you want. And I wish I had known that before I'd gone in there. Erin, who's also in our group, who was in this class, she took in her first few pages of her book and said, tell me when you would stop reading this. And so then she read until she got to that point, and then talked about what had stopped her and how to go from there. People have taken in their queries and asked for a query critique. I heard somebody else who had gone in with story ideas and pitched the story ideas to see which ones most interested her and which ones most she thought would be able to sell the best. So use that time however you want, and don't go in unprepared like me and fumble and leave after a minute and a half. Sarah had requested fulls, though, I think from pretty much everyone who pitched. So I didn't leave there thinking, yay, I made it. So I worked on my query for 5 months before I sent it out. And then the first 3 I sent it out to were agents that I didn't really think were a good match, because sometimes it's really hard to send off those first queries and to figure out how to personalize it and to get all the wording right. So it's nice to be able to query somebody that if they don't say yes, you're not crushed about. And that's the trick too, is every agent knows you're querying a bunch of other people, but they want to feel like they are the only one. Like you handpick them out of everybody, and you just think that the two of you are the perfect match. Because you've had a chance to research them beforehand, and they haven't had a chance to research you. So if you include in that first paragraph something that personalizes why you chose them as an agent, why you think they're going to be a good fit. Because this is someone you're going to have to work with, so it needs to be somebody that you can work well with. So letting them know what it is that made you think that they would be a good match with you is what you need to put in that beginning. I got an offer from an agent to do exclusive revisions. She is an agent that was really, really heavy on, or she used to be an editor before she was an agent, so she really likes to revise heavily with her authors, and it's her normal thing to want to do exclusive revisions first. So basically it meant that it would come off the table for everyone else, and I would work with her for a few months to get the book to where she wanted it, and then she would offer representation, and then we'd go on submission in. So the thing, she was a really good agent, really good, and on paper it was a match made in heaven, but it was, talking to her on the phone, I could tell that it was anything but, and it was not a good idea to be with her. And really, it matters. I know when you want an agent, you're pretty much willing to take anybody who wants to work with you, but it is not, I mean, you've really got to find someone. I have a friend who, her agent was Nathan Bransford. I don't know if any of you guys know him. He was a really well-known agent, and he quit the business. And so she just got handed over to another agent in their agency. So they never picked each other, and it was an awful, awful thing, and she just broke up with her agent yesterday after a really long, hard. I know, she almost did on Valentine's Day, and then I guess she decided to wait till the next day. But it was a hard thing that set her back by a couple of years. So it is really, really important. So if you're getting a feeling that this might not be a good matchup, listen to those feelings. But at first, I was just excited because she wanted to do exclusive revisions, and so she said, so think about it. You've got to let any other agents that have it know and get back with me. So then I sent Sarah an email because she had my full because she'd requested it. And I just sent her a message saying, I have an offer to do exclusive revisions. Are you interested before I commit? And so then she just emailed back and said, can I have the weekend? And so I gave her the weekend. She called on Monday and offered to represent me. Sarah gets a ton. Just like really good agents, she gets a ton and does a ton of requests for full, so it takes her forever to get a full, or to go through and read a full. But it was that offer from the other agent that lit that fire that got me bumped up to the top spot. So it helps a lot to meet somebody and to pitch to somebody, because a lot of times it will get you past that querying stage and into them requesting the first 3 chapters or requesting the full. And that is a huge thing, because then when somebody else requests it, you can say another agent already has this. And once they know that if there's going to be a competition, and then they know that they need to act quicker and they need to figure out if that's something that they want a lot faster. And so mine was kind of a combination of going through meeting somebody and then going through cold querying, because the first agent, I was just cold query. I knew nothing about her besides what I had found online. So both, I think, are really effective ways that can help you. You know, either way can get you in just as well. Something I was going to say about agents, no, I don't remember what it's going to be. Does anyone have any questions about anything? Some agents will say, have you revise a lot? Some agents will not. Sarah was not one that had me revise a lot.
So the book that you just signed with, it's the post-apocalyptic one, right? Mm-hmm. What's the title of it?
Through the Bomb's Breath. So the first agent wanted me to revise a lot. Sarah did not. In fact, when I asked about some of the revisions, she said, no, I think that's the wrong way to go. And then, one more thing about getting your manuscript ready. I know there's a lot of times you think, oh, I'll wait and see what they think about this, or I'm going to copy editor will fix all my grammar problems, or you think some of these things are going to be fixed along the way, so you can ignore them now. But when someone is reading your manuscripts, anything that, you know how when you're reading a book, and it's fine until you hit that one little spot and you just kind of ignore it and shove it off to the side because it's just some little thing that bugged you. But the more things that bug you as you go, the more you're just like, I don't care about this book anymore. But you don't want an agent or an editor doing that same thing. And the thing is all those things that you think, oh, they'll fix it when they get to this point, it's not any they in there, it's you. So eventually they're going to say, okay, you need to fix these things, and then you're doing it on a deadline instead of doing it on your own terms. So get your manuscript as best as you can possibly get it, and go listen to all the critiques that you get, because it will really make a difference in what goes on later down the road. I just got my editorial letter while we were at LTUE, which it's kind of hard when you come home brain fried to an editorial letter. It was 9 pages of suggestions.
Have you talked about the sale?
Oh, the sell. What?
Who did you sell it to?
Oh, Random House. It was a preempt, which it went a little faster than what is normal.
Yeah, you got the offer. You got offer for representation when?
October 16th.
And you got the offer from a publisher when?
November 19th. So I
that's a little bit fast.
I really assumed that I would revise during November, do nothing during December, because,
nobody's
December.
works, yeah.
And then would go on submission in January. So Sarah had sent me her revisions, which took 2 hours to do. And I just assumed that I had assumed that I would do it, but I talked to her November 1st and told her my plan, and she's like, no, I think right now is the best time, as soon as you can get it to me. And really, it's got to be by the 9th. If we don't do it by the 9th, we're going to have to wait. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So I spent days just getting it absolutely perfect. Sent it to her on a Monday, or Sunday night, which is like the 6th. The Monday morning when I woke up, there was a couple more things from her to change, little things. I sent it to her, and Tuesday morning she said, okay, it's in the hands of editors. And she gave me a list of who she was submitting it to. And then Friday, the editor from Random House called her and said, I'm interested, is it still available? And she's like, it's been a submission since Tuesday, yeah, it's still available. And then on Monday she said, oh yeah, remember that synopsis for book 2 that I told you you had weeks to do? You need to do that now. And so I said, okay, well, can I take it to my writing group Tuesday night and then get it to you Wednesday? And she said, yeah, that's fine. And then she called on Tuesday while I was at work, like repeatedly until I got away where I could answer the phone. And she said, Random House wants to make an offer. I need it today. And I'm like, holy crap. So I went like, anyway, so I did a 3-page synopsis and a query, all on that night, 16 hours from when she told me till when I had to have it in, sleeping time included. And I got the 3-page to her that night, and I'm like, this query's broken. I don't even know how to fix it because my brain's too tired. Can it wait till morning? And she said yes. So I sent it to her at 7:03 the next morning. She called or emailed at 7:20 saying it was in the hands of Random House, and by 9 o'clock she called me with the deal.